I've spent thousands of hours in the world of Fallout. I've beat all the modern 3D Fallout games over and over again, but when it comes to the classics, I've barely touched them. I've never been a huge fan of these sort of old isometric style RPGs, which has led to me only dabbling in the original game. But the fact that this is where the whole Fallout franchise started makes me feel like I need to complete the game at least once. And so, that's exactly what I decided to try and do. Like all good RPGs, we start off in the character creator, and I think this is the part where I've messed up the most in my past attempts to finish the game. When I play a modern Fallout game, I'll typically want to build my first character as a long-range rifleman, someone able to deal with their foes from a safe distance, while still dealing devastating damage. And this works out well enough when I get to aim the guns manually, but that's not how the classics work. Every attack is just a percentage chance to hit, and player skill doesn't come into it, it's all about character skill. So rather than follow with my past mistakes at playing this game and try to play a guns-based character, I instead elect to go down the melee route. Playing a melee build means I don't have to worry so much about ammo, and have an overall more straightforward time in combat. It would still be quite easy for me to mess things up in the character building stage, but fortunately friend of the channel Kadogenesis has made guides on how to build good characters in these classic games, and also has a playthrough which starts with him building an unarmed based character. It didn't take too much work for me to modify that character he made into a melee-based one, that should serve me well in this playthrough. Now on to the story of the game itself. You play as a resident of Vault 13, an underground shelter built to preserve life from a nuclear apocalypse that destroyed civilization as we know it. While the vault proved safe for a time, the computer chip which is needed to purify the drinking water has broken, and now the vault is running out of time. You, as the player, are being sent out into the dangerous wasteland above, in order to try and find a replacement and save the entire vault. You have 150 days until the vault is wiped out, and this timer is a real gameplay element, so failure is 100% a possibility if I take too long. We step out the vault, in the only first person scene of the entire game, and then our journey begins. One thing I want to immediately give credit to the game for is that your starting equipment is somewhat determined by the skills you chose when creating your character. This means that my melee build already has a knife they can use as their main weapon, although Dead Ed here also has a knife on his body too, so I guess I would have been fine either way. In order to get out of the cave where the vault is located, I need to fight my way through a horde of cave rats. Fortunately, these are the weakest enemies in the whole game, so killing them isn't too tricky, even when my character manages to miss multiple swings in a row. Because I know I'll need every drop of easy XP I can get my hands on, I make sure to wipe out every rat in the cave, solving the vault's pest problem, if not their water problem. After heading out into the light, I then get to make my way across the overworld map. This primarily entails clicking on a point and watching the red line draw closer, while praying I don't end up in a random encounter which instantly kills me. The first trip through the wasteland is mercifully dull, and I make my way safely to the nearby settlement of Shady Sands. The folks here are friendly enough when I chat to them, but there's only one man I'm focused on right now. This is Ian, and he is the only follower in the game that I know how to get on my team. Just talk to him, ask for help, and offer a piece of the action. If the speech check passes, then I'll come along for free, which is exactly what happens here. I now have a follower who is good with guns, which is going to be crucial for me, as I will not survive the wasteland with just my little knife. While in Shady Sands, I make sure to do a little looting, and also ask the residents what's going on. They let me know of some nearby settlements, but mostly seem preoccupied by giant scorpion attacks.
Great packs of rad scorpions are killing our herds. We don't know where they're from, and no matter how many we kill, there's always more.
That seems a bit above my pay grade right now, so I choose to leave and try my luck heading to Vault 15 instead. On the way to the vault, I do get attacked by some mantises, manti, I'm not sure what the plural is, but it's not like it matters. They're just some puny little bugs anyway.
Your life ends in the wasteland.
Yeah, guess I deserve that. Second attempt at walking to the vault goes much smoother, and once there I get to fight against cave rats again, which are currently the only enemy I've successfully defeated. Apparently my power level is directly between that of a mantis and a rat. Into the vault itself where I get a new challenge, as on top of cave rats, there are also mole rats, which are substantially tougher even if they bear the lesser tag. Although what really made this first bit of fighting difficult was the fact that Ian decided to sit back and do nothing. Just look at him back there, chilling with the rat corpses, not a care in the world or a thought in his mind. If we could all be so lucky. After leaving me for dead, I have a stern word with him, so fingers crossed he'll have my back from here on out. Pretty much the entirety of this location is just me and Ian wandering the halls, killing cave, mole and pig rats. Ah, the three genders. Tag yourself, I'm pig. One point of note is that I have to use rope in order to get down further in the vault, which is honestly something I wouldn't have figured out if it wasn't for the fact that I've seen other people play through this game before. There's no quest markers or journal which tells you what to do, so I'm working off a combination of personal deduction and memory to figure out what I'm supposed to do, which is going to cause problems later on. I get my first level up in the vault and use it to boost my melee weapon skill to over 100%, meaning I should get a 95% chance to hit against the rest of the enemies down here. The vault itself is clearly in a terrible state, and there's no chance of finding a water chip here. What I do find is a sick looking leather jacket, which on a personal level is much better than some crummy computer part. The vault proved to be a bust, but after facing down so many enemies and surviving, I figured I'd have a go at dealing with a rad scorpion problem for Shady Sands. The cave mouth beckons me deeper apparently, and I get my first rad scorpion encounter. I aim for the brain and knock the creature out with the very first swing of my knife. Things quite literally could not have gone better than that for an opening move, as now the enemy just won't attack me anymore. When his buddy shows up, my brain stab is less effective, but fortunately Ian is playing ball now and uses his 10mm to finish off the creature. And with those two dead, I get my second level up, which means my first perk. While I am tempted to make myself a little tougher, I end up choosing bonus hand-to-hand damage, as it also affects melee weapons. An extra couple of points of damage seems real significant when my current weapon typically only does a few points of damage anyway. It's then time to go through the rest of the cave and eliminate the remaining rad scorpions. And honestly, it doesn't prove that difficult. Maybe it's because I've been traumatised by the Fallout 4 iteration of these creatures, but in the classic game, they're really not bad at all. With the rad scorpion nest wiped out, it's back to Shady Sands to tell them the good news.
You are truly a hero. Know that the people of Shady Sands are most grateful.
I may have dealt with their biggest problem and also helped their doctor come up with a cure for the poisonings, but their thanks come in the form of words rather than water chips, so it's back into the wasteland I go. It's quite a trek down to the next settlement, Junktown, but once I get there the guard at the gate seems nice and friendly. By having a quick chat I learn that a crime lord by the name of Gizmo is causing some trouble in town, but that the local merchant Killian is doing his best to keep the peace. Obviously I decide to go and meet with Killian, and not only because I'm already weighed down with loot to sell, but before I can unload my wares, an assassin shows up. In the middle of the day. In a room filled with armed guards. I don't think any of you will be surprised to learn that the assassin dies in the first round of combat. As I help defend Killian, he asks me to also deal with the man who sent the assassin. He needs proof that Gizmo is the one who sent him, so asks me to wear a wiretap and get a confession. Sounds straightforward enough, so I agree to help. Before I do that though, I need to do a bit of bartering, and this is going to be the section of the video where I complain for a little bit. Selling off your loot in this game is a real hassle. I've got pretty limited carry weight, so I'm storing a lot of stuff in Ian's inventory. To access his inventory, I need to click on the skill decks, use the steal option, and then carefully select Ian in order to interact with his inventory. And then when it comes to the actual act of selling, not only do merchants have limited caps to barter with, but you need to click the plus or minus symbol to get the exact number, which in some cases means you're sat still for a full minute, finger on the mouse, waiting for it to just reach like 300 caps. For the rest of the video I'll be cutting out most bartering sessions and won't bring it up again, but I needed this one mini rant as I feel about a quarter of my time spent in the game was just me messing around with inventory space and trying desperately to sell items to merchants. Back to the story itself. We head to the next part of Junktown and get a free dog. Yup, dog meat is here and just decides he wants to follow me now. Not sure if I did anything particular to make that happen, but I'm sure happy with the result. Off to Gizmo's casino now, and we need to get a confession from this dangerous crime boss. He's framed as quite the imposing and aggressive character, but if you want to make him seem less intimidating, just keep in mind that this is the same actor who plays Winnie the Pooh.
I don't know who you are, but I don't take kindly to strangers walking into my office and accusing me of things they know nothing about.
Much better. With the confession obtained, I decide to take a quick break before turning it in, and head to the local pub. I have a chat with the bar's patrons, because you all know how much I love patrons. Cough, I have a patron. Cough. Turns out these patrons aren't as friendly as mine though, as this guy opens fire blindly once I bring up bubblegum. This is another instance where one guy is vastly outnumbered, so the fight ends rather quickly. But I'm left so confused as to what exactly happened that I tab out the game for a moment to have a read through the wiki. Seems it's got something to do with the whole Bust the Skulls gang questline, which sounds like it will be a fun little distraction. Fallout didn't particularly like me tabbing out though, so I've actually lost all that progress from the bar, and I'm once again outside Killian's. Seeing as I'm here, may as well deal with Winnie the Pooh first. After giving Killian the evidence, he gives me a choice of rewards, from which I choose Stimpaks, and he then offers me the chance to join him as he and the guards run the crime boss out of town. And by run out of town, we apparently mean fight to the death. The battle ends up being incredibly one-sided, as Gizmo gets chomped on by Dogmeat, leaving him weak enough for Killian to get the kill shot. We're not done cleaning up Junktown yet though. The Skulls gang is still active, so they're next on the list. I head back to the scum pit, and this time it's a lot more crowded. One of the gang members gets aggressive with the waitress, and in retaliation, the bartender blows him the fuck apart. It's nice to see a boss standing up for their employees for once, but even I think that might be taking things a little far. Somehow though, the thug's leather armour survived, meaning I now have a new look. That's not all I'm picking up at the bar though, as in the corner is a man in dusty leather armour, a trench coat and gas mask. Also the game says. His actual sprite is a little more simplistic looking, but I like the idea of how he's supposed to look at least. This is Tycho, the Desert Ranger, and he's happy to join the party in order to help clean up the town. That's 2 extra followers gained in Junktown and 1 crime boss defeated. All I need to do is deal with the skulls, and I think I'll have done a perfect run of this area. Because I've read the wiki page on this, I know that I need to first join up with the skulls, and then complete their mission of getting revenge on the bartender to advance things. And by get revenge, I don't mean kill. No. We're just gonna steal his dead wife's ashes, which is technically not as bad. Although it does involve me dealing with the sneak system of this game, which doesn't work out at all. After a few reloads, I end up just waiting until Neil has gone to bed, and then steal the ashes while no one's around. I return them to the gang leader, but convince him not to attack the guy right away, as I have some other stuff to do. That other stuff in question being to grass him up to the local guards, leading to yet another fight in Junktown. This one is a bit more involved though, as we have my full party, several gang members, several guards, and Neil the bartender all in this relatively small space. I quickly decide to get myself out of the way, as bullets regularly miss their targets, and I'd rather not get killed by friendly fire. The guards and Dogmeat seem to do a good job dealing with the gang, and I'm rewarded with a heavy dose of experience points. The town now cleared up, I head on out. Although before I head back out to the wasteland I do a bit of inventory management, and it's at this point I realise I forgot to loot all the gang members. No biggie though, I'll just head back and do that real quick. The guard seems to claim that the gate is shut, but I can quite clearly walk through. And now the guards are hostile. Yeah, so despite having saved the town from 2 different criminal organisations, the fact I walked back in after dark was enough for everyone to turn hostile and decide they want me dead now. You know what? Fine. These guards have good loot, so I guess we're getting an equipment upgrade now. I kill the initial guards who attack, but then this guy says I need to put my new spear away as this is a friendly town, so I briefly assume they're letting bygones be bygones, until I step foot outside and combat starts again. I make my way back to the bar, which is swarming with guards who all want me dead, as too does Neil apparently. Although weirdly, they only want to attack me one at a time, and when they do, all the other guards turn hostile towards the individual attacking me. Good to know that the Fallout franchise has been buggy from the very start. With all the guards dead, I've racked up enough experience to get both repair and speech to over 100, as I'm sure both of those skills will be needed later on. On my rampage through Junktown, I did make sure to avoid Killian's shop, which at least means he gets to live. I've ended up with a bunch of loot from those guards, but with the whole town hostile, I have nobody to sell stuff to. This means I have to make my way down south, to the hub, which has plenty of merchants willing to buy my bags of blood-stained valuables. I also meet a guy named Erwin here, who's been having some troubles with raiders. I figure I need to do a good deed after my last fiasco, so agree to help him deal with a raider gang. Which was a mistake, as first Tycho is killed, and then I take a point-blank bullet to the head and die. So it looks like I won't be helping out with the raider problem after all. Back in town, I'm able to buy myself a shiny new combat knife, and also meet up with one of Fallout's most iconic characters, who I obviously show some charity to.
Oh, kind of your friend, very kind. You know, if I could clear the gunk out of there, you just might find a tear in old Harold's eye.
After chatting to Harold for a bit, I find the water merchants, who will be able to supply water to my vault. This wouldn't fix the water chip problem entirely, but it would buy me a lot more time to find it. While the cost of 1,000 caps sure is a lot in this game, I at least get the same amount in the form of XP. And just around the corner from the water merchants, I have another location of significance, a church for the Children of the Cathedral. These are a mysterious group who seem to offer free healing in the hub, but who are also incredibly secretive and guarded when dealing with outsiders of any kind. We'll have more on them later. For now, I'm heading to Necropolis, a nearby ghoul city which may just have a working water chip. There's a mix of feral and non-feral ghouls here, meaning I have to be cautious about which ghouls I approach, as some will attack on sight, whereas others are friendly and peaceful. With a bit of careful footwork, I'm able to dodge around the groups of ferals and reach the ladder of the non-violent ghouls. Because I approach peacefully, he lets me know that the ghouls here get their water from a system underground, which is powered by a water chip. Sure is nice to see the solution to my problem being solved through pacifistic means. He does get a little concerned about the idea of me taking their water chip though, as then they'd have no drinking water themselves. But he also comes up with a solution. There's a local water pump that's in a state of disrepair. All I need do is fix it, and then I can take the water chip without causing any harm to the ghouls here. Sounds like a win-win situation to me. Necropolis is kind of a maze though, so I really struggle to find the parts needed to repair the pump. In the end, I get so lost that I head over to Harry the Mutant here to ask for directions. But before he's willing to give them to me, he needs to find out if I'm a normal or not. I try to convince him that I'm a different kind of super mutant, just like him, but that doesn't pan out too well.
No, Harry know you not. Not like you.
Looks like it's time for my first fight against the super mutants. Harry, Barry, Gary, Sally and Larry here are incredibly tough, but thanks to my rampage earlier, my squad actually has the advantage when it comes to firepower. Except for in Barry's case, as he has a flamethrower. Yeah, that's a crazy strong weapon, but at least the friendly fire helped me out. He very nearly kills me the next time he uses it, but I restored just enough health to survive. None of the super mutants have the repair parts on them, so I figure I'll just head down and look for it near wherever the water chip is. Down here are some glowing ghouls, who don't like the fact I don't have permission to be here, but I've run out of places to look, so guess they'll just have to die now. And it turns out there's another vault down here. This one filled with more glowing ghouls who object to my presence. All this murder yields reward as I get my next level up. This time I pick the bonus move perk, allowing me a free couple of spaces of movement in every round of combat, meaning they won't cost me any action points. Considering it costs me 3 action points to use my knife, and I only have 9 AP in total, the fewer I can spend on moving each turn, the better. Pushing further into the vault, I come across a water processing computer, and upon interacting with it, I get the water chip. Was kind of expecting a bit more fanfare upon picking it up, but hey, all I need to do now is return to the vault, and I'll have beat the game. I do still want to try and repair the water pump for the remaining ghouls though, so I do a final search around. There's this one door where the guard just won't let me in. I didn't want a repeat of the Junktown incident, so listened to him and didn't enter when I was searching earlier. This time though, I figure, what the hell, walk in anyway and prepare for combat. Which doesn't arrive. Apparently I was just allowed to walk in here whenever I felt like it. Great. And in this building is Set, leader of the above ground ghouls, and he is none too happy.
You vanished our water processor chip, exchanged it for your life. For the chip, you may walk.
I can't give up the water chip, so looks like there's going to be a Necropolis incident too. As luck would have it, only a few of the ghouls here have guns, and one of them ends up dropping theirs at the start of the fight. The problem though, is that there's just so many ghouls, meaning I get completely surrounded, and have to just heal through the damage while the rest of the party focuses on the killing. Turns out this is a crazy good strategy though, and one I'll be employing throughout the rest of the game. Does mean I need to hoard stimpaks like crazy, but that's what I do in Fallout anyway. Due to the number of ghouls here, this ends up being the longest fight of the game, but eventually Set and all his cronies take a dirt nap, and I'm free to return to my vault. You know, it's been quite the journey. Sure, I screwed up nearly every step of the way and have done irreparable harm to the settlements out here, but I got the water chip, which is all that really matters. It'll be good to get back to the vault and retire. even if it's just to save the wasteland from me. Time to head to the Overseer and hand him the water chip.
You've saved us. You've done it. You saved the vault. You should be proud. But now we need your report. We'll get it from you in the library. Please, go there now.
Okay, guess I'll go in and hand that report as well. Seems a bit excess to requirements, but shouldn't take long.
I don't like your reports. What was in the reports, that is. In fact, they scared the heck out of me. It's those mutants. I've done some calculations and... well, I've come to an unpleasant conclusion. The mutant population is far greater than could be expected by natural growth or mutations. This leads me to believe, and I don't really understand it, but it looks like someone's generating new mutants, and at a startling rate. Exactly. And as you've probably guessed, none of these mutations could have occurred naturally, even with the radiation from the war. As long as someone is creating hostile mutants at this rate, the Vault's safety is at stake. Find and destroy this lab as soon as you can. You have no idea how sorry I am to send you back out.
No rest for the wicked, I guess. Time to head back out, but if I'm having to deal with a mutant threat, I'm damned if I'm doing this alone. It's time to meet up with the Brotherhood of Steel and see if they'll help me out. But to do that, I need to join them. And to join them...
you have to complete a quest first.
Yup, they're gonna send me to a radioactive crater in order to prove my worth to them. I need to find a holotape of some kind there and bring it back to them. Only then will they let me inside. Good job there's not the looming threat of an imminent super mutant invasion, or else trips like this could be a real problem. Anywho, off to the glow I go. I have a couple of encounters along the way, including one where I get revenge on those mantis buggers from before, but eventually I make it to the glow, where I use the old rope trick to lower myself down into the crater. This area is packed with radiation, meaning my character constantly has the radiated effect, even after I down a near lethal dose of Rad-X and Radaway. The game isn't too clear what this status effect actually does, but it sounds like it will eventually be lethal, so I can't stick around here for long. Before the radiation has a chance to take its toll, Ian sets off a trap. Then I set off a trap. And then this door keeps shocking me as I try to fix it. Looks like I won't be travelling any further down. Doesn't matter though, as I already picked up what the Brotherhood required, so it's time to head back to them. While I'm making sure to cut out most encounters that I run across, this one is worth showing. This here is the crashed alien spaceship, which is not only something that pops up throughout the various Fallout games, but also gets me the alien blaster, which I never end up using. I don't think I even give it to my followers to use at any point. I really am an idiot sometimes. Returning the holotape to Initiate Cabot gets me access to the Brotherhood outpost. As a new member of the Brotherhood of Steel, I get my uniform, which fortunately is a better version of the armour I currently had equipped. Now that I'm dressed appropriately, it's time to meet up with Maxon, who seems somewhat aware of a mutant threat, even if the rest of the Brotherhood are refusing to act.
The elders aren't doing squat, but I'm getting ready just the same.
After agreeing to scout the area north of him, he lets me know that I can pick up a weapon from his assistant. And would you look at that? I now have a Ripper, which I think may well be the strongest melee weapon in the game. It's certainly the strongest I've found, and it's what I'll be using for the rest of the game. Scouting to the north is a pretty simple job. I literally just have to reach the military base and then return. Okay, so the mutant patrols here are a bit of a problem, but I was able to reload and made it to the base without any of my squad dying the second time around. The base itself has a whole bunch of mutants standing guard, and considering how poorly my last encounter with these enemies went, I don't think I'll be doing a repeat, so instead just run back to the Brotherhood to let Maxon know what's going on. Initially, he just wants the Brotherhood of Steel to defend their own outpost.
We'll fortify the fortress and surprise those damn mutants.
But I'm able to convince him that an attack is the best option. I do also need to convince the rest of the elders, but that ends up being really easy. And look at that, they're going to send a trio of paladins to the base with me to help break in. That is certainly a big benefit, but I'll still have to be involved in the fight, so I think it's time to get some better armour. Fortunately, there's a side quest right here to get myself a suit of power armour. The quest itself basically just asks me to go back and forth in order to get the parts to fix it, and this time I'm able to get the repair parts without slaughtering dozens of people. In fact, the only real hiccup in this mission comes when I try and pick up the armour, and realise that I'm just weighed down too much. It takes me as long to sort out my inventory as it did to get the armour repaired in the first place, but it's all worth it in the end, as I now have an armour class of 34, which as a D&D player seems absolutely insane to me. But if it works the same, should mean I'm virtually unkillable now. While I could just head straight to the military base right now and try and complete the endgame, I kinda want to explore a bit more of the world, and leveling up a bit more certainly wouldn't hurt either. So I make my way to the Boneyard. Here I meet Caleb, who trains up the regulators, and gives me a lot of helpful information about the place. He also gets me started on my next side quest, by letting me know that a man by the name of Zimmerman is looking for help dealing with a gang. Thanks, Caleb. You're the best. The job that Zimmerman gives us is to kill the leader of the Blades, something which every Skyrim player has dreamed of at one point. So I obviously accept and sprint towards their hideout to get the job done. Once I get there though, they seem real peaceful. No sudden combat initiation, no weapons drawn, and not a single word about killing party snacks. So I decide I should probably chat with the leader first and see what's going on here. The whole reason Zimmerman wanted this lady dead is that Josh, his son, died, and he was told that the Blades were responsible. But according to them, it was actually the regulators who killed Josh, and she seems to have proof. Problem is she can't get it to Zimmerman as the group is banned from entering the town itself. The Blades want to storm the town and take it back from the regulators, but to do so they'll need weapons, which requires the gun runners to help them out. So I think that means I need to meet up with the gun runners. There are some death claws between me and the runners, but it's easy enough to dodge them. Don't want to go hand to hand against something that tough after all. After selling half my inventory to the gun runners merchant, I then speak to their leader to see if they're willing to help arm the Blades. But in order to get that done, I need to clear out the death claws. Fuck. Well, guess this is going to be a good test for the armour. And it works out brilliantly. Deathclaws are one of the most dangerous creatures in the wastes, and it struggles to deal any damage to me at all. I do need to deal with the mother Deathclaw though, and she seems a fair bit more dangerous, even managing to land a critical hit on me. I make sure to return the favour soon after though, killing her and rewarding me with enough experience to level up. Considering how deadly criticals seem to be, I figure the more criticals perk is the perfect one to go for. After making sure all the Deathclaws and their eggs are well and truly dead, I head back to Gabriel, who is more than happy to give his neighbours a bunch of dangerous weaponry. I go back to the Blades, who are now ready to invade the city, but before they do that, I see the option for me to talk to Zimmerman first. Quite frankly, I've led to too many settlements getting torn apart at this point, so if I can talk things out, then I'm gonna take the opportunity when it presents itself to me. So I go back and give Zimmerman the tape to listen to, which does seem to change his mind about the whole thing. Crap. Fine, looks like combat is inevitable, and all I actually accomplished was getting that guy killed. Rather than go through this entire fight without any backup, I reload and let the Blades know that they can attack, as I can't see a full-on battle starting any worse than my peaceful solution did. And now it's time for the Battle for the Boneyard. I think this is the biggest fight in the whole game, as everyone gets involved. We've got Blades, regulators, citizens, and my own squad all locked in Mortal Kombat. As to the part I played in the battle, not only did I try and tank as much damage as possible, but I also dealt the killing blow to Caleb.
Caleb is dead.
I then tried to rush over to John Zimmerman's house to save him, but was too late. Someone named Lorraine was also killed, but I'm not sure who she was, so I feel less bad about that one. With my Advanced Brotherhood technology, the regulators never stood a chance, and I once again stand victorious, after committing my third slaughter of a town. This time though, everyone seems pretty happy about it, which is a pleasant change of reactions. Seeking some peace and quiet after all that battle, I make my way to the local library, where I run into Katya. She's looking to get out of town, so joins our party, as a much appreciated late addition. I then get to meet Nicole, who runs the Followers of the Apocalypse, a group trying to restore peace and ensure the world doesn't go all nuclear again. Right now, their concern is with the children of the cathedral, who they suspect are up to something nefarious. As someone who shares their suspicion, I agree to investigate a little, and see if I can find anything out. But when I reach the physical location of the cathedral, I soon come to the realization that I'm not much of a detective. I chat to all the people I can, but I'm unable to really find anything all that incriminating. The people here are a little weird, but I don't think that will be quite enough to convince the followers to take action. Probably more than enough for my squad to do another massacre, but our standards seem much lower. In the end, I give up on talking and try sneaking upstairs instead. Seems like this was another dumb move on my part though, as the party is absolutely torn to shreds by the Nightkin and their heavy weapons. After that failure, I return to the followers, and this time Nicole actually tells me what I need to do.
Go to the cathedral and find a woman named Laura. Say the phrase Red Rider. We'll create a diversion if we can. Our destiny lies before us. Let us hope we are worthy.
Could have done with that information earlier, Nicole. In my frustration with this quest, I end up leaving both the followers and the church behind, and check back in on some past locations instead. Back in the boneyard, I find a chemist who says he can improve my power armour, which no doubt helps me out, and when I go back to the hub, I get the revelation that I never actually paid the water merchants to help the vault out. A good job I found the water chip in time then. It does mean I've got a bit of extra cash though, which will come in handy. When I return to the cathedral and use the code word, Laura agrees to chat, but her information isn't super helpful. She lets me know that the master is downstairs somewhere, but the key to reach that area is held by Morpheus, who is upstairs, in that place I died last time. Doesn't seem like there's a way for me to get to him that won't turn violent, so I head back to the Brotherhood. They've already agreed to help out with the military base, so maybe they'll help with the cathedral too. Sadly, they don't seem all that interested, but I am able to use the money I've saved up to get a couple of surgeries, which will improve my endurance and agility. While here, I also learn some very important information about super mutants.
All the mutants I've studied have been sterile. They can't breed with another creature. If we could clean up the mutation sources, we should be able to simply outlive the mutants.
That's great news. All I need to do is get rid of the mutation bats up at the military base, and then there will be no more mutants created. Almost makes you wonder how every single other future Fallout game still manages to have super mutants in it. But that's not something for my character to worry about. Instead, he can just focus on saving the world from the mutant army. But when I get back to the military base, there's some bad news. The trio of paladins I was promised are nowhere to be found. I can't believe this. All I did was wander around for a couple of weeks. I can't believe these soldiers weren't willing to wait right outside of the dangerous mutant base for a fortnight. Terrible behaviour on their part, honestly. Guess me and the squad will have to do this fight on our own. In my improved power armour, I'm able to draw all the mutants' fire, letting my followers focus on dealing with damage. Not that I don't get in a couple of nasty hits myself. This entire fight actually goes incredibly well, which is quite the surprise considering how poorly every other encounter with the mutants has gone so far. But it does give me the confidence to enter the base and try and deal with the threat once and for all. As soon as we step inside, we have this minigun-wielding baddie unload into us. Not a great start, but I spot the missile mutant to the side, so set up a plan. By knocking back the front mutant and then standing in the middle of all three, I'm able to let this happen. Now that felt good. The next missile mutant is a bit more of a concern. Not only does it land a damaging hit on me straight away, but after I move in close, in order to draw its attention away from my followers, they all decide to group up in a perfect blast radius. Lucky for me, the FEV causes some serious mental damage, so the mutant aims for me instead, and even then can't land the shot. It seems like nearly every mutant in this place is going to have some form of heavy weaponry, so I'm having to play things real cautious. A single critical hit could result in any of my party members being instantly killed, so fingers crossed my enemies won't get too lucky. There's some robots up ahead, but thanks to my high science skill, I'm able to hack into the mainframe and change their settings to make them target mutants rather than humans. All these red force fields I keep running through are providing a bit of a problem for me though. I'm smart enough to only walk through them once, but my followers keep going back and forth through them. I keep trying to heal them up when they do this, but on this occasion, Dogmeat pushes ahead and initiates combat while at low health, which has a predictable outcome. And he's not the only one dying here. And Ian's not the last to die. I fought so hard to try and keep the whole party alive through this, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. I think I just have to accept that my followers aren't going to be with me through to the end. They did good to make it this far, but keeping them alive is proving too stressful, so looks like Katya and I will have to go it alone from here on out. We're both armed with rippers and do a stellar job getting rid of this trio of mutants. Such a good job that the last one just spends its last moments fleeing from us.
Are we the baddies?
To help answer that question for me, I head to the prisons, where I kill the guard and set free the prisoner, who then tells me that I'm a monster for having done that, so I end up killing her too. Yeah, I think it's clear now that I am the bad guys. Time to embrace my bad guy mentality, as I make my way to this computer room and put a silent self-destruct sequence into motion. This means nobody will have any chance to escape except for me and Katya, which we do with plenty of time before everything explodes. Job well done. Time to head back to the Brotherhood and tell them the good news. Maybe they'll even give me a reward of some kind.
Good. Anything else you need to ask?
Nope. Guess I was being a little hopeful there. Sure, I've eliminated the threat for them and lost most of my allies in the process, but I guess a reward or help of some kind would just be too much to ask for. My job's not done yet though. I still need to find the Master of the Mutants and get rid of him to beat the game. So it's back to the cathedral I go, and seeing as I've got experience killing mutants now, I decide to just charge straight upstairs to Morpheus and his Nightkin. And it's here that I lose my last follower. Looks like I'll be doing the rest of this mission on my own. Despite showing up covered in blood and having just fought a full-on battle on the floor below, Morpheus seems oblivious to all this, and instead comes to the conclusion that I might be a spy. He's not certain of this, but goes with a better safe than sorry mentality and opens combat. With a shot to the groin. I'm in a suit of armour, so it doesn't do anything, but that's a real dick move to kick things off with. His robe offers far less protection against my attacks, and then it's time for me to finish off his remaining Nightkin. This mostly consists of me shoving 20 stimpaks into my arm as the mutants unleash a biblical level of firepower into this small room. In the end, I'm able to endure the damage, and between me slicing them up and them shooting each other almost as much as they shoot me, I'm able to win the fight. I loot Morpheus for his robes and key, which unlocks the door to the basement. I do have a bit of trouble figuring out the secret bookcase door which is here though, especially as the game keeps telling me I don't have enough carry weight, leading to me re-equipping my power armour. After much messing around, I find the hidden latch, which opens up the final area of the game. Down here there's some creepy mutants who seem to be pets of the Master. Considering he killed my pet, seems only fair that I return the favour. When I reach the guards beyond them, I try to convince them I was sent with a message, but they're not buying it for a second. Calling me a slag seems a bit odd, but I suppose the mutant faction not being sex positive does track with what else I know about them. While I'm able to kill the first prude easily enough, the couple that are guarding the door get their revenge.
Not even the carrion eaters are interested in your radiated corpse.
Alright, once more into the breach. After a reload, I make sure to equip the robes instead of the armour, and they let me into the vault without issue. I'm pretty much allowed to wander around down here without anyone complaining, which is convenient as I have no idea where I'm supposed to be going. As I wander through the vault, I meet this group of psychers who are kind enough to give me a psychic nullifier. I don't know exactly what this will do, but I'm sure it helps out in some way. A few more minutes of searching and I come across the path that leads to the Master himself.
So what shall it be? Do you join the Unity, or do you die here?
Join.
Die!
Join.
Die!
He puts in quite the effort to try and convince me to join up and become a mutant.
Mutants are best equipped to deal with the world today.
Who else?
The ghouls?
Please.
Normals?
They brought nuclear death to us all. This will be the age of mutants. Mutants.
But rather than pick between join or die, I pick the secret third option, and explain to the Master that his mutants are unable to reproduce, and will die out after a single generation. Which he does not take well.
But it cannot be. This would mean that
All my work
has been for nothing. Everything that I've tried to...
A failure!
It can't
be.
be. I don't think that I can continue
Continue?
to have done the things I have done in the name of progress and healing. It was madness. I can see that now. Madness.
Madness?
There is no hope. Leave now. Leave while you still have
Hope.
Taking notes from my playbook, the Master then starts a silent alarm, which I once again run away from, before getting treated to another cinematic. And that was the last thing I needed to do in Fallout. All that remains is to see what happened to the various factions in the Wasteland, and it's a real mixed bag. Things go pretty well for Shady Sands and the Brotherhood, which makes sense. I did help them out a fair bit after all. And things going terribly for the Ghouls totally makes sense too. I'll own that. What doesn't track so much is that Junktown apparently thrives after me having killed most of the inhabitants, and the followers of the Apocalypse are wiped out by the mutants, despite having just dealt with the threat. Feels like I got a real chaotic neutral sort of ending, which does kind of fit with me to be honest. It's then back to the vault for a well-deserved retirement.
You've done it. That's wonderful, amazing. I'm so proud of what you've accomplished, what you've endured. There's no way the people of the vault can ever thank you enough for what you've done. You've saved all our lives. Who knows? Maybe even saved the human race. Yes. That makes the rest of this even harder. Everyone will want to talk to you. Every youngster will look up to you and want to emulate you. And then what? They'll want to leave. What happens to the vault if we lose the best of a generation? What if we are the only safe place in the world? You just gave us back all these lives. I can't take the chance of losing them. I've made a lot of tough decisions since I took this position, but none of them harder than this one. You saved us, but you'll kill us. I'm sorry. You're a hero, and you have to leave.
And that was Fallout. It feels really good to have finally beat the game, and while it's not one I have any plans to replay, I did end up enjoying my time with it. The controls may be pretty janky compared to modern games, but it has an incredible atmosphere, a brilliant story, and some truly fun gameplay elements. Now that I've beat Fallout, it's on to the next project. I want to make more videos in this I Tried series, as both this one and the Dark Souls video have been really rewarding to work on. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see more like this. Give the video a like to show support, and if you want to help fund projects like this in the future, check out my Patreon page. This video ended up being a lot more work and taking a lot longer than I expected, over a month in fact, so everyone who helps fund the channel is directly contributing to making more advanced projects like this possible. I think I've held your attention for long enough now, so, as always, thanks for watching. Sarge out.